My name at this juncture is unimportant. I will likely reveal it later on in time, but for the meantime, John Smith will be a suitable alias. Before I reveal to you some of the files I have archived, I will need to explain to you a little bit more about myself and why I am doing this. Hopefully this will grant you a bit of a better insight into myself. I am, for the lack of better word, a sociopath, but unlikely the ones with poor impulse control and self-destructive behavior. I had ingrained into me at a young age proper life skills by my father after he caught me standing over the thing that I had killed. It was not out of malice. I doubt it was even curiosity, and I am not trying to make a awful pun. I just did it. He demanded to know the reason for my actions, and I explained that the thing had started to follow me, and I found it was very annoying. When I asked if I had done anything wrong, there was a shock in his eyes, as I have later to come to realize. He explained to me that what I had done and what I had killed was a beloved thing for other families who will want to know where they went. I didn't understand why this was so important, but his urgency in his voice made the impression that while I may not have cared, other people would. "Are you going to throw me in jail?" I asked. He looked at me for a moment. "No, John, I won't, but I need to understand why you act this way, and I will teach you how to blend in with the rest of the world. Your actions could have dire consequences for your life if you do not maintain control. So, I will teach you. It will be difficult, but lessons are valuable." In short, he trained me like I was an army private. Strict timetable, strict punishment. Constant drills into theoretical situations, but he was never aggressive. There were times when I could see the predatory mind state he might not have even been aware of would try to kind of push itself through, but he kept it in check. Being on a military base most of my life, the discipline was familiar. Eventually, I would join the army, and I did fairly well. While I did not understand why others did, I was aware that they would have motivations. The rest of my life was, I believe, mundane. Nothing of significance really appeared to mind. But then again, it is not like I have a good point of comparison. I was 8 years into my service. I was acknowledged as a very capable soldier who was dependable. One night during a night exercise in the country that I cannot speak of due to certain laws, my unit was performing a reconnaissance. Potential intruder was sighted. We were to verify the identity. 6 soldiers walked into the forest that night. Only I walked out. And it is the one truly definitive point in my recent years. Deep into the forest, we were in standard search formations. Jacobs heard a crack of wood breaking and signaled us to halt. As our eyes swept around to locate the source, a rushing being charged into outline and took the hill. The scream was shortened by a loud crack. His neck was broken. Potomi went to investigate, but was dragged into the woods before anyone could countermand his actions. "Open fire," I asked softly. "Negative. Our people might still be in there." Knives were drawn, and by that time another soldier was dragged screaming into the woods. 3 soldiers left, and the discipline was diminishing. "Fuck it," grumbled Erickson behind me. As soon as the moment was heard, Erickson fired. We watched as the bullets hit the creature, but no wounds were visible. The tall-linking creature slammed its fist onto Erickson's head with a crunch noise that I cannot describe. I was grabbed and thrown to the side. My head smacked into the tree, and I was dazed. I could barely hear gunfire and growls that sounded more than bestial, if that makes sense. Shaking my head, I pushed myself upright. The gun was useless, and this being was far too quick and strong to be human, but it did not match any known animal I am aware of at that point in time. Rustling could be heard all around me for 3 very tense minutes. They seemed to leap deeper into the woods. I was prepping to head in to verify the status of my men when I felt it standing behind me.
Empty.
It said, this pale creature looking into me with presumable sunken eyes, revealing what looked like black eyes. The image of a piece of meat at a butcher's dangling by one of those large hooks immediately popped into my mind.
Empty.
It repeated. Then it turned around and slipped away. I couldn't move or act. Distant noises indicated that it was walking away, but the pace seemed more deliberate, like it was dragging my men. I left the forest, headed back to the base. After intense debriefing and threats of court-martial, I was allowed to remain an active soldier while undergoing therapy. Mental breakdown was the official diagnosis, while that unit was deemed MIA. They sent out 4 units to locate my old unit. 3 people returned, husks of who they once were. When I got the chance to lock eyes, we nodded once. We knew. After my service, I left and decided to further investigation the cryptid phenomenon. During this time, I would find the entity that killed my unit and several other soldiers. The Wendigo. My theory about the Wendigo hunger isn't that it seeks human meat to survive, but humanity. The human soul is what it seeks, knowing it lost when it consumed human flesh. It considered that it might regain in the same way. Now realizing it was the act itself that will doom it to the remaining to be a Wendigo. No longer an active soldier, I researched the cryptids, but I went further than most enthusiasts. I spoke with other soldiers who asked to remain nameless about the deep web and the best way to browse it. He explained to me the nature of some of these sites in the deep web, or the dark web if you guys prefer that, but I explained that I wasn't seeking that, but just the back channels, the deep web. He gave me a copy of his custom browser, which dubbed The Fly, because it was small and looked seemingly incoincidental. It could apparently fit past the red rooms and the like to go deep. He explained the setup and I thanked him. After setup, I went into the dark side of the internet. I was testing the program out, and it worked perfectly. A few red rooms were displaying their entertainment, and I was able to slip right past them through most of these admins. One was particularly aggressive in his actions, but the setup for this program made IP tracing a pointless endeavor. I don't fully understand the complexities, but I know that person and trust their work. So, I plugged into the depths of this deep web, seeking government declassifications of documents and the like, and stumbled across a forum of coroners. Unlike other coroners, they didn't deal with murder, suicide, or mundane mysteries. Their victims were all cryptid or supernaturally related. I mentioned my interest in their jobs and explained I saw answers. The users were not happy with my presence, but when I explained my encounter with the Wendigo, they actually recognized me. Apparently, certain reports from a psychiatrist can make it to them if certain words are used and the doctor did not suspect subterfuge. They offered a deal. I archived some of their cases, and I would learn about what happened to my unit. They didn't seem to have a problem if I was to release most of these details to the public, but they warned that most people would not accept the surreality of the world. But if I could garner some interest, they would allow it as long as personal details were omitted. I would come to understand why later on, but I agreed. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for the interest in my new vocation. As you can imagine, the case that I chose to disclose first was the one that I was personally involved in. I was not quite aware of the implications that would be brought to light in doing this, however. Having spoken with some of these morticians in the forum page, they asked that any name is to be withheld. Locations were to be generalized, and make sure that no government agency was aware of my actions. I agreed, and they showed me the case of my unit. Case file, Wendigo, Milvet, 0261. After consolidating the reports with the lone survivor of this event and the autopsies on the recovered military personnel bodies, the following is fairly accurate recollection of the event. At 016, the male unit was sent to investigate the reports of an intruder. This was a training exercise to judge the capabilities of lone survivor as a team leader. Approximately at 039, the male unit had an auditory reconnaissance of Wendigo, 0183. Estimated identity of cryptid is John Sampson, a hunter who went missing at 1703. Recovered body Private Jacobs reported a branch snapping. The male unit halted and tried to locate the source of the sound. Around 040, Wendigo 0183 charged the unit and snatched Private Second Class Hill, snapping his neck. Private Potomi went to investigate but was grabbed by the claws of a Wendigo 0183 and his throat was slashed. Specialist Jameson was dragged under another brush. Claw marks indicate his death was slower as the lungs were punctured multiple times. Private Second Class Erickson was able to shoot the Wendigo 0183 when it charged the group again. As multiple previous cases have established, standard ammunition fails to leave a true impact on the body of a Wendigo. Further evidence that older Wendigo are virtually immune to any type of small firearms. Erickson was killed immediately when his skull was impacted from the top, severely misaligning two vertebrae, severing the spinal cord and crushing the throat vertically. Lone survivor was knocked aside. Estimate time duration for encounter with Wendigo 0183 is 3 minutes. Acting Corporal Jenkins' body was never recovered. Of special note in this case is that this is one of the first times that the cryptid in question spoke in response to the presence of the survivor. The word empty is confusing, as Wendigos are traditionally voracious in their pursuit of human flesh. Autopsy summary of Erickson, Jacobs, Potomi, Jameson. Erickson fractured skull from overhead strike from cryptid. Catastrophic damage to the neck and the throat area due to the force of the impact. Severing of a spinal cord implies death was pretty much instantaneous. Jacobs, multiple stab wounds from the claws of the cryptid. Secondary infection was not able to infect the body. Body was still cremated as a protocol, as was Potomi. Potomi, his throat slashed by the claws of the cryptid. Note, this is the same Potomi who witnessed the encounter of the police officer who encountered skinwalkers in Michigan, Subterritory Number 4. Said police officer also reported on a mush corpse in the vehicle. The two deceased military personnel named Hill and Jenkins were now recovered, likely taken as food by the Wendigo 0183. Judging by the enforced counseling sessions for the survivor, it seems unlikely he willingly caused that incident. Reading over the case file, I tried to figure out the implications of the thing that caught my attention. Had these people really figured out who the Wendigo was? Or was it just guesswork? Had there been enough encounters for the filing system to be displayed in the way that you saw it? The mush corpse is not a reference I am familiar with. While I could imagine why it was called that, the term mush seems overkill. But given the wealth of resources I have access to, I chose to see what these morticians and their network have been concluded regarding Wendigo. Wendigo, humanoid cryptid. While we have been unable to locate the first known Wendigo, we have concluded that the original story of these beings is more fact than fiction. Wendigos are humans who, after prolonged starvation, consume human flesh, and in the process are cursed by something which causes their transformation. The transformation is a approximate growth of limbs by 22%, and the fingernails elongated, sharpened, and hardened to assist in catching more human to consume. Why the Wendigo feel the need to consume human flesh is not readily apparent. It is speculated that it is the only meat sustains their never-ending hunger. After consuming human flesh of a sufficient quality, older Wendigo require more. They return to the place of significance for them to hibernate for years. Fire seems to be a bane to these creatures, as it makes holding off the younger ones a more viable tactic. However, Wendigos who are over 2 centuries old seem to ignore the heat of the flame and ignore it as a stalling tactic. Weaponizing it against Wendigo is a far superior option. However, most people, when facing cryptids, seem to leave their rational minds behind as they see something truly apparent to them and seldom take time to mull through the problem. Given that Wendigo gain in strength and speed, it is understood why humans rarely have the time to plan. Cases involving firearms were conflicting until it was deduced that the younger Wendigos were more vulnerable to small firearms until their bodies matured to resist calibers smaller than a .22. Very few encounters have involved active military personnel, so judging the firepower is difficult unless more encounters were had. Knives are an effective, if foolish, idea for Wendigos who are less than a century old. Their behavior indicates that they shun civilizations. Reasons why are speculative. The information was illuminating. Hopefully this will benefit to all of you. If there are any other cryptids that you wish to know about, or unusual deaths, please let me know, and I will try to locate the appropriate case file. So, if you made it to the end, I just wanted to specify that this is just the first part to a story that I was very interested in. That is also a very, very, very long story. So I thought I would chop it up for everybody, just in case they didn't feel like sitting here for, I don't know, I'm going to estimate before I even edit this. We're going to say 22 minutes. Okay, so 22 minutes. I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of hard for me to watch over like a 20-minute video. So I kind of felt like that for this, but if you guys would like them longer, please let me know down in the comment section. Please make sure to leave a comment stating that you would like longer or if it's just right. But thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. We have a lot of new people here, and I wanted to say thank you for coming over, and I'm hoping that you guys enjoy this. There's a lot of content, a lot more coming, and if you guys want to hear more of this story, make sure to let me know, because I've got so many parts. Oh my god. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one.